Stefan Johnson had something where right next to his house, there's somebody that has it running an air conditioner. Of course, it's over 100 here where I'm at here in LA today, Southern California. And this comes up. People have to record, they have to get something out the door. If you're a pro, every once in a while you can't record in your own space. And having the ability to go through and solve issues when you need to is a great thing. So today all we're going to look at is taking AC noise out of some audio. And this is pretty slick. Now, Stefan sent this to me in MP3 format. I prefer to work in WAV format. Matter of fact, I prefer to just solve it at the source and never see it, but it happens all the time where we have to salvage something that there really isn't a way to go back and redo it. It's due now. We have to work with what we have. So here's the original audio, and I'm going to play you a little snippet of it, and then we'll talk about what we're doing to get rid of it. Now, you actually can see it. Now, for those of you that don't know, this is RX6, and we have the spectrogram here. We can switch it over to the waveform view in case this is what you're used to seeing is the waveform, but I live in the spectrogram. Spectrogram just allows us to see things from the low end to the high end. So I'm not going to go over all those details. I'm just going to show you. We have a whole group for managing this stuff if you have questions or comments. But you can see the AC noise down here at the bottom. In fact, I'm going to highlight it here. Right down there we have our AC. That's the noise, and I'll play it for you. And it's not too bad. So I don't know if you can hear that. Let me make sure. Let's see if you can hear this here.
Everybody's watching.
Yeah, there you can hear that. Now, here's the interesting thing. So we're going to start right from the beginning. First thing I would do is I make a copy. I don't like working on the originals. Now, I actually made a copy before I put it into RX here. So this is a copy. This is a copy. This is a version that went through, and Audition had done the same denoising process. And this is the results it was left with. You can kind of see some leftover of this line right down in here in between words. And that's this same line here. That's the air conditioner. Now, without headphones, you may not hear this, but I'm going to play it. So you hear that? You hear that hum? You may have to turn up your speakers a little bit, but here's the thing. The original audio is quiet to begin with. I'd never send this in for an audition. It's too quiet. Let me show you what I mean. First thing I'm going to do with this is verify how loud is it. And there's a good tool for measuring that. The waveform stats will tell me. And the overall audio is at -32. Now, occasionally someone asks you for raw, and I would send it in at -25 if that's what they ask for, because that's reasonable in a home studio to get to that level without doing any processing. If it's going to go in and it's an audition and I'm allowed to do some, I'm going to bring this up to -18. I want it louder. If two auditions go in from the same person with the same voice, with everything being identical, and one's a little louder, most people are going to select the one that's louder. So I would be gaining this up right from the beginning because this is too quiet, and somebody's going to turn up their monitor to hear it. And so they're going to hear a bunch of things. So the first thing I'm going to do before I do anything is make a copy. Select the whole thing. That's all selected. I'm going to do this from the menu. I always do it from a keyboard shortcut. I copied it. And then in RX, there's this great command called new from clipboard. And what it just did was took whatever I copied and threw it on the clipboard for me. And then now I have a complete copy of this sitting in this tab. I'm going to pull it over here. But what I'm also going to do, just so that we can see this when we're done, is I am going to paste it again. I'm using the keyboard shortcut. I just pasted it a second time. So when we're done, we're going to be able to go back and forth if we want. We can process half of it. We can, and we're working on a copy. And that makes life easier because, hey, what if I make a mistake? What if I do something I don't pay any attention? Now there's ways to get it all back. I've started with a copy anyway, but that's still something that I'm just in the habit of doing. Belt and suspenders. Make sure you don't have some issue going on there. But here's what's going to happen. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to gain this thing up. It's just way too quiet. I'm going to get closer to production. So watch this. It's simple. I mean, I don't need to watch this, but I'm going to bring it up by 10. And now this is in a range that's realistic. It's still too quiet, but it is in a range that's realistic. We're now at -22. And frankly, I don't think you should be sending in any auditions. It's maybe -25 is fine, but I'm going to work on -22 if that's okay. Like I said, if it's my audio going in, if my adult son's audio or my wife's audio going in, it's going to be about -18 if it's going in for most things, unless they're explicitly saying they want raw, because those levels aren't achievable in most studios. so I wouldn't do that. But for this I am. And now here's the thing. When you bring this up to where it's even close to what it's going to be in production, listen to this. That's easy to hear. You can hear that hum right there. And of course, you know, between them, it's the same hum that's right here, because that's what I copied in there. So what I'm going to do is we're just going to take the first half of this audio, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to apply a high pass filter to it. So I'll use the EQ. And the reason we do this, of course, is sometimes you'll get an air conditioner or you'll get some noise that's just below our voice, and then we might as well just get rid of the darn thing. We don't care. We don't need to use any noise reduction, and I recommend this for everybody, no matter what you're doing. Now, if they're asking for raw, don't do this, but there is some ways to stealth do it, by the way. I built stealth stacks for people. But here's the point. I'm going to go ahead and go and high pass this at about 82. A lot of guys, I will go higher than that, but whatever. It's just still the process. And I'm going to get rid of some stuff. And I just got rid of all that noise that's down there at the very bottom. And so it's still, that noise is below where this air conditioning noise is. So we're stuck with the air conditioning noise, but we've gotten rid of some other noise. So let me zoom in here. By the way, I think I showed this. If you haven't, this is what people would be used to seeing if they're used to seeing the waveform. I live over here in the spectrogram. But so now let's talk about strategies for getting rid of this, you know, noise. So I have a couple things I do. Let me do it the way most people do it, and then I'll show you what I do when I want to finesse it and have the best possible outcome. So first thing I'm going to do is go through and look at this noise. This is easy. There's a nice clean area to get it from, but I could get it from any of these spots. So I'm going to go in the middle and pretend I don't have that nice clean spot to get it. And I'm just going to go right in here and find a spot. This one's good right here, and I'm going to highlight it. And because that's not really enough for me to be happy, I'm going to hold down my shift key and highlight this. One of the great things about RX is it allows you to take multiple areas and combine them into one and pull up the denoiser. And so I have Spectral D Noise here. I'm going to ask it to learn, and it's going to analyze that. And you see this big peak here over on the left? That's that big line that's going in. And that line is going to be hard to remove, sort of. But here's what we're going to do. Over here in the reduction section, there's a tool that most people don't use, but you will be using. I'm going to unlink these two. There's two types of noise it deals with. One, that's a great name. I don't know where they came up with this. There's noisy noise. It kind of made no sense to me in the very beginning. What is noisy noise? That's really broadband noise. That's the sound of something that's across all frequencies. Pink noise, pink sound, pink noise would be broadband, or what they're calling noisy. And then there's tonal. And I just think of monks sitting around saying, that's a tone. A flute or a piano, a single note on a guitar would be a tone. And anything that's a horizontal line in your audio here, like hum of a light bulb, a fluorescent light, those are tones. And you'll see them running as horizontal lines in your audio. And there's this nice horizontal line that's running down here right at the bottom. Let me highlight it for you. There it is. There's our tone. That's our noise. That's the hum that people are hearing, and that's also shown right here. So what we're going to do is, with a single pass to begin with, what most people are going to do, we're going to adjust these two, and I'm going to take this, and I'm probably going to need a lot with this because it's really high. Oh, I should show you this. Watch this. Hold on, let me measure this first. To get an idea of how loud this particular noise is, I also measure that. So this is kind of measuring in between words what that is, and it's at -40. I mean, my mom, I got a great mom, okay? She's almost 80. And, you know, even her would hear this. Even she would hear this, but that's a better way of saying that. It's just too loud. That's just too loud there. And you can measure it. I measure everything. I don't trust anything without measuring. And what we're going to do here, let's learn. There, we've got that. We can set these two. Note tonal noise reduction, you can go much, much harder than you can with the broadband stuff. So on broadband things, if I need to go more than about 15, 16, somewhere in there, it's not an exact number, depends on the audio, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do two passes. But I'm just going to do one here, and we're going to process this. And all we're going to do is process this little fragment and see what that's kind of looking like. And you can see visually right there, I think I could play it. That's taking out that hum pretty well. And you can see it gone there if I move that out of the way. Now, that's not what I would do, but I do test a little portion of that just to see how we're doing and test. Undo is my biggest friend here. So undo that. And now what we're going to do is we're going to run this on the whole audio, and it will go ahead and I think, what is it? Take it 10 seconds to do this. And then when it's done, it will have just, oh, I've got, hold on. I don't want to do that. Cancel that. And the reason I don't want to do that is I've got 2 copies of this here. So let me just do this half. Okay, now we'll process that. And now what it's going to do is just process that. Watch this line at the bottom, right down here. As soon as this thing is done, you'll just see it go away. It's going to be done, boom. And when I zoom in on that, you can see in between all those words, there is no hum, or there is a little. I should point this out. I'm never trying to do 100% gone. I'm trying to push it in the background far enough that nobody hears it. And as long as somebody isn't listening for it, then they would not hear this. And let me show you a couple of little tests. Boom, minus 59. That's not really enough for me, but it's still in the zip code. Minus 63, that's getting better. I like that range there. And I'm testing in a few spots just to verify that the fix I did, it's not quite enough for me. It's not quite enough for my taste, because one, I still would be gaining this audio up a little bit at the end. So it's not quite enough for me, but it's not bad at all. In terms of quality, though, in terms of actually taking out the stuff we want to take out without anybody hearing anything between words.
And then keep on working, keep on grinding, keep on doing what we do best, building the city together.
Okay. So nobody would hear that. Now, once again, if I were here, roughly the same spot.
Keep on grinding, keep on doing what we do best, building the city together. Our town.
So you hear the difference over here? This was the original one that I haven't touched, and then I go to the same spot here.
Keep on doing what we do best, building.
You don't hear the air conditioner on the left side. You hear the air conditioner on the right side. So this one operation has taken it out in a manner that you could ship this to somebody and they wouldn't know that it had been there. Okay? And I could finesse that a little bit. There's a couple of things I would tweak on that, but I'm not going to for now. I'm going to show you how I would do this if it were me and my audio and I needed to do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to back that all out. Undo. I over undid. So I will redo. Okay, now I'm back to where I've got the 2 paste, and I'll gain that up as well. And so, by the way, so you probably know Control Z undoes, and then Control Shift Z will redo. And by the way, on the menu system, they say it's Control Y, which it is. But one of the little dirty secrets is Control Shift Z also works in a whole bunch of programs to take things out. Command Z if you're on the Mac, going back and forth. So you can use that to back everything out. So now we're back at the beginning. So here's how I'd really approach it if it were me. And I would have done this to begin with, and it'll be quick and painless. Watch this. So I want some finesse. And in order to do that, we're going to work just on our problem child. We got a little area here that's a problem. Let's go ahead and focus on that. So watch what we do. We're going to switch our tools. I love this. I love the irony of this. We're going to select a square down here so that we can draw a rectangle. Okay, and technically a rectangle can be a square, but usually it's not. And now I'm going to go down here in this area, hold down my Shift key, and I'm just going to give it a couple areas here where I have that tone that's down there. And now we're going to have it learn. And so now it has just learned a small portion of it. And now because of that, I can go through. I don't need to be quite as aggressive here, and I don't need to be quite as aggressive here. And we're going to take this. And first thing I'm doing is just process my little fragments here. Watch this. Boom. That was just against those 4 little spots there. And then I look at it. Now here's something to notice. I'm going to zoom in. You can hardly tell there's any difference. I love getting a nice, even noise, cottage cheese in the background from top to bottom. I'm not done with this, but that's a great first start. If you can ever level it out, if you have one frequency range that has a bunch of noise in it, I love focusing in on that, taking the noise and getting it to where it's in the range of the rest of it. And then the quality of your repair is, it's just brilliant. This software is amazing at what it can do when you do this 2-step approach. Now I'm going to undo that. So it did get that. I'm going to ask it now. Normally I wouldn't have these 2 copies here. I did this for the demo. I'll have these sitting separate. Matter of fact, what I'm going to do, because I'm just too lazy here, I'm going to take this guy out right now. All right. So now all we have is now the original here, and I'm going to process against it, and then I'll put the other one back in when we're done so you can see it. Or you can listen to it back and forth if you want. But the point is, watch. Well, let me show you this. Boom. So now what we're doing is we're only operating on a small part of the spectrum, just this tiny little bit here at the bottom. And I think that you'll be pretty wowed by the way this works. So now we've got 90% of it right there. Look at that. Now, here's the funny thing. If we measure this, we're almost at the same level as we were before, but one of the things you're going to find is we have not touched any of the audio up here. So people who get artifacts when they do denoising, they over denoise. But nobody can accuse me of over denoising, or you, because you're going to use this technique now, because what we are doing is we're just going down here and applying a little extra power down here in the lower section where our noise was, and we're not touching 90% of the audio, which gives us a much, much cleaner denoise than if we had gone ahead and did full spectrum at a high level. Now we're concentrating our power where it's needed, and then we'll go back through a second time here. I'm not done with it. I like going through a second time and finding a couple areas, and I'm going to hold on my shift key here. I'm going to take that one. I think I'm going to take right here, and I'm going to take right here, and now I'm going to learn a second time, but now we're going full spectrum. And now in this one, full spectrum, I don't need to bring it down so much, but I still will let it deal with some extra on the tonal, because there still is a little bit of tonal at the bottom, a couple other things I don't like there. I'm going to test it. We just did that little bit, and you see it brought everything down there. I can tell just by looking at it. And then we do this. Now we're going to do this over the whole thing. And now what you're going to see is this is a spectacular fix to this air conditioner or no. I could record 24/7 with that air conditioner going, and nobody will know it was ever there. Nobody will know we ran noise, a denoiser on this, because it's so finesse the way it works. RX is just brilliant at this. They feather things in, and visually you can't see it was there. But when we measure, let's go back and measure. I always measure, and then I listen. By the way, ultimately it's about listening, but you know, people say, well, if it sounds good, or if it sounds good, it is good. I agree with that 100%. The problem is, where I don't agree with it, is that there's a lot of people that don't have good ears or good equipment or good rooms, and they say, well, it sounds good to me. I mean, ask my mom if it sounds good. My mom, she'd say yes to almost anything, and it doesn't sound good. So there is the little caveat that if it sounds good to you and you have trained ears and you've got great monitors and you're in a decent room and you've worked with it, then cool. What I find over and over again is people do it, and then a year later they listen back and they go, gosh, I can't believe what I left in a year ago. And then the next year, we all say the same thing. But watch this. Let's measure. Get off that soapbox real quick. So now we're at minus 63, minus 76 for that little section there. And remember, there's breaths in between here. There's some other stuff. And if I needed to, because we've just been finessing this thing, we could bring it down even more if we needed to. So it depends on the application, depends on what it's going to. But the air conditioner is no longer an issue in this particular room. And I should play it for you. Hold on a second. We'll go home. We'll zoom out a little bit. And what you're going to be listening for is between words. Can you hear any air conditioner?
Working. Keep on grinding. Keep on doing what we do best, building the city together. Our town is founded on limestone.
Okay, and there's no air conditioning sound there. I got great monitors, great room, a lot of stuff going on. But watch. So now here's what I would do, of course. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to do a quick declick on this. And I'm using the declicker in a special way. And I've got rid of that. I'm going to go into mouth declick, and I'm going to do a quick pass with the mouth declicker. And now I've just taken away a bunch of stuff that this is almost like magic.
Our town is founded on limestone and girded in steel.
Now, here's the cool thing. When we're done with this, when we do it right,
Forging something new here. A new chapter. A new arena.
when we do it right, nobody knows we were ever there processing. That's our goal ultimately, is that nobody knows we processed. Nobody's going to come and pat me on the back or pat you on the back and go, gosh, you're so good at, you've denoised that, the way you got that. They're not going to know there was an air conditioner there. And that's fine. That's appropriate. But they're not going to come and pat you on the back and say, all they're going to do is what my mom does. They're going to go, wow, that sounds great. Why it sounds great, they don't know. Now, if it doesn't sound great, then they may pick up on it, but they're not going to be happy and go, wow, you're so amazing. No, you're a voiceover professional. They expect that you're going to have excellent audio. When it comes out excellent, they're not surprised. The only time they would be surprised is if they go back and they have the absolute original and they're able to take that original and compare it. Then they're going to hear the mouth noise that was taken out. Then they're going to hear the hum, and maybe on the mouth noise, not everyone hears it, but then they're going to hear the hum taken out. But you can see how graceful this is. And then I did have a copy that, if you compare the difference between what's left over at the end of every word and you do some critical listening and you gain it up to where we gain the other ones, you'll hear that in audition it was leaving a little tail at the end where that air conditioner is kind of fading out. And it's not bad, but it's noticeable. I mean, you can it just depends on what the words were. Like here, it didn't take it out at all, but that's really short. So when you're here using RX, you'll be amazed at the quality of this thing, and it's pretty wild. Okay, so this is what we did. Just to recap, I'll go through it super quick. We did a EQ, which really we're doing a high pass primarily. I left in a low pass here, but it was already trimmed off. We took that out of there. The next thing we did is we went through and we used a Spectral D Noise. This is my go-to tool. This is killer. Unbelievably high quality when you know how to use it. One of the little secrets here, split these off so that you can do tonal versus noisy. And when you understand how these work, you can do some magic in there when you combine that concept with the fact that you don't need to do full spectrum. If you have a tough noise, that tough noise is usually going to be within a certain range of frequencies. This was all at the lower end. And you can see we clean that out. And nobody will even know that we cleaned it out and we did a 2-pass. It looks like one complete frequency cottage cheese look there. And that's appropriate. And I could take out a little more if I wanted to, but I don't need to. Okay. It does depend on the application. There are times where I take out a little more, a little less. That's a judgment call. It's like how much salt do you want on your pizza type thing. But I hope this helps some people. And of course, you probably know there's a dedicated group, an RX group. And, all we talk about over here in the RX group is how to go ahead and take audio and fix it if there's some problem. So make sure that if you have a problem with some audio, join the RX group. And we are talking about this all day long. It's crazy. Most of you are going to be bored to death talking about this stuff, because really the goal is to get it to where the tech stuff fades in the background. Use this stuff when you need it. And I can't say enough. The number one thing is if you can get away from using this stuff, fantastic. That's your goal always. My adult son lives in an apartment complex because he does sports broadcasting, and he's in the town only a year or two, and he didn't want to invest in a house in the location he's at right now. And in this apartment complex, other people run their air conditioners. There's times where he has to record because it's due today, it's due tomorrow morning, it's due before he goes to the ball game to do his broadcasting, and it comes up. Now, his room is really good, but if everybody in the complex, there's like 5 air conditioners clustered together, so during the summer when all 5 of them are on because everybody's home, he gets a little bit of noise. And we've got a thing, we've measured it, we just take it right out. Nobody knows it was there. Do we want to do that? No. Do we do that? Yes, because he wants to keep working, okay? So be sure to join the RX group if you haven't already, and then that's something you want to know about. If you have questions or comments, I'm going to look real quick over on the feed here and see if I can see anything that somebody said something and ask a question. And it's a great, use it year round, learn a lot of tricks. Cool. Thank you. And I don't know how to pronounce your name. I'm going to say Joa. Joa? You're going to have to tell me that, okay? I hate mispronouncing people's names or misspelling them, but it happens sometimes. So anyway, if I can help with something, let me know in the group. Join the RX group. Voiceover Universe, when this is up on YouTube, if you're watching this on YouTube, if you haven't joined Voiceover Universe, you need to join that group. It's one of the great voiceover groups. There's a set of them. There's about a half dozen of them that I really love. But be sure to join the major ones because there's so much good information and good, helpful people out there. So, as always, got to find the RX group. Yeah, it's Audio Rescue, okay? And here, I'll put that up there again. I see someone asking. There it is at the top. I'll put it, it's right there, okay? So you want to go ahead and grab that. You can grab that. And and join the group. Okay. So I hope you guys have a great day. And as always, I look forward to seeing you on the wires.